Want to keep up to date with what's happening in Thailand? Download the Thaiger app. It works on both Android and Apple. And it's free. All the latest news, videos, and information at one click from your phone. Go to your Play Store or App Store and download now.
And good morning, Thailand. Thursday, getting near the end of the week. It's been a very, very busy week, and we'd like to welcome Bill Barnett from C9 Hotel Works. Thanks for coming in, Bill.
Hi, Tim. I guess you just rolled in from a tiki bar there, right?
Well, yeah, I was not going to be outshone by today's guest. Now, we'd like to introduce all the way from Bangkok, the Chief Entertainment Officer of Retired and Working for You. Good morning to Chris Parker.
How you doing, Tim? How's it going, Bill?
Why are you wearing a shirt that says awkward?
Oh, that's a long story. Because everybody's awkward, Tim. You should know this.
Thank you.
I started my YouTube channel and I thought, I don't want to think about what I'm going to wear. I got a buddy down on Koh Samui who had, I guess about a year previous, made a bunch of these shirts and it kind of fell in line with a good life philosophy. Be awkward, be yourself, celebrate uniqueness. And I thought, well, I won't have to think about what I'm wearing every time I go make a video. I'll just fill my drawers with a bunch of these shirts. So here it is.
Makes it easy. Chris, why did you come to Thailand?
I came to Thailand. I'd always dreamed of moving here. I'd been visiting every year for over 25 years, taking a 24-hour flight just to have a vacation. And then that started to seem a little bit silly. And so our daughter had a couple of years of high school left, and we decided before she finishes high school that we wanted her to experience life outside North America and just see that there's a bigger world out there. Asia's always been a big part of my heart. Thailand, always a big part of my heart. So we just decided to pull up stakes, leave LA, which is where we were living, and move over here, and she could finish her final 2 years of high school here, which she has just done.
So, Chris, what were you doing before you retired?
I was in the film and TV industry, but the non-glamorous side for sure. I started off on set as a technical guy, kind of an on-set editor, and then that morphed into being a digital workflow specialist. And then I'd started a company and we grew that company and we supplied a lot of TV shows, a lot of movies. So camera rentals, lighting rentals, post-production services, and all that sort of stuff. So it turned into way too many spreadsheets. It started off being part of these projects and it ended off just being about spreadsheets and answering to people about money this and money that, and so the last few years weren't so fun, and so I just decided enough was enough. It's time to turn the page on life, start a new chapter over here.
So, Chris, was the idea, as far as you're concerned, to come to Thailand and actually start a YouTube channel, start doing vlogs, or how did that come around?
Oh, no way. No, the plan was to retire, come over here and use Bangkok for what it's meant to be used as an amazing hub for travel in the region. So that started off great. I mean, it started off, climbed a mountain in Nepal. I came moved here in August of 2019. So couple months later over in Nepal, then our family went over to Seoul and had New Year's in Seoul. And then when all that got taken away from us during the first lockdown, we went down to Koh Samui to spend that 2-month period there. And it got boring being retired and not being able to do anything. So hence the YouTube channel. It was a way to cut through the boredom of being locked down initially.
Well, we're going to have a talk more about the content on your YouTube channel and your coffee addiction. We might have to address that as well. But for the
It's not good evening, Thailand. It's good morning, Thailand.
So, but in the meantime, we're just going to have a quick break. So hang in there, Chris. Don't jump. And this is Good Morning Thailand. We'll be back right after our news headlines. Checking the headlines from thetiger.com, and 30 COVID-related deaths today and 3,129 new infections, 457 of those from prisons. The Prime Minister, Prayut Chan-o-cha, has announced that Thailand will fully reopen within 120 days. Full details about his speech last night at thetiger.com. Thai Airways' rehabilitation plan has been formally accepted by the bankruptcy court. Restaurants request easing of COVID-19 rules and financial aid. Certainly around Bangkok, having a very difficult time at the moment. And an Isan farmer and his son were electrocuted and killed by a wire fence in a rice field. All the latest news at thetiger.com. Back to Good Morning Thailand right after this. And you're on Good Morning Thailand, a Thursday morning, and we've got Bill and Tim here in the Thaiger studio.
Morning, Tim.
And all the way up in Bangkok, we've got Chris Parker, the Chief Entertainment Officer from Retired, working for you. We're going to get to more of his actual work in a moment. Chris, over the last few days, we've heard that the Central Bankruptcy Court has accepted Thai Airways' plan or restructuring plan to sort of continue into the future. Have you been a customer of Thai Airways?
In the past, I have. I still carry a grudge against them because when I moved from Toronto to LA in 2012, it was the same year they canceled the LA to Bangkok direct flight. So I haven't used them a whole lot since then. But if they had to maintain that flight, I would have been using it every year during my time in LA. So, yeah.
Bill, it seems that Thai Airways has done their restructures, a lot of cost cutting, a lot of getting rid of services and stuff. Well, what do you think the future is of a national airline in a sort of a COVID era, and then it will be eventually a post-COVID era? It's going to be a struggle.
I think there's always the issues of legacy airline carriers. We've seen issues in the past with Garuda in Indonesia, certainly Philippine Airlines restructuring over the years. And low-cost carriers about a decade ago in Asia really became the predominant force in terms of that. It's interesting how Cathay Pacific's and the Singapore Airlines and the future of legacy carriers go. So it's anybody's game at this point. But Thai Airways does lend it out for tourism, and it is an important carrier, certain from destinations like India coming into Thailand as well. There's a lot of airlift, so it is an important component of tourism.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time. Thai Airways do have quite a big fleet, and a lot of their fleet is leased, which is going to be causing some problems well, as they continue this restructure and negotiate with their lessees. So flying around Thailand, Chris, we usually have a great selection of cheap flights. We're very lucky to be served with so many discount airlines. Do you think they're all going to survive?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, I would imagine the airline industries worldwide are asking themselves that question. It's certainly not a Thailand problem. Yeah, that is a great question. I don't know if they're all going to survive. It seems like there is a lot of choices over here. I flew down to Phuket just last week. It was, I had my choices of $30 flights for, 900 baht one way. Seems like a tough business to be in. I personally hope that Thai Airways survives. I think Thailand's a country that warrants having a national airline that stands the test of time and gets people in and out of Bangkok at least efficiently. All these local regional airlines, it's one of my favorite things about living in Southeast Asia is having cheap flight options. Where I come from, flying domestically is very expensive. So this is it is a nice thing. So I'm certainly cheering for them to survive, or at least enough of them to keep the services where they currently sit.
Chris, your channel is quite unique in many ways, and it's all very much wrapped around your personality. Bill, one of the most amazing things is you sort of got this pay it forward policy. Yeah. You like to find out about that?
I think it's a great thing. One of the first YouTubes I saw was your Samui when you're handing out money in the streets there as well. I think it's a great initiative, certainly paying it forward. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it started just like I said, the channel started as a hobby. So then when people started watching, that was initially surprising. And then that just kept growing faster than I thought. So it got to that monetization thing on YouTube way quicker than I ever thought. And then suddenly Google and YouTube wanted to send me some money every month for the ads people have to watch, and so I just thought it'd be a good opportunity to kind of pay that money back into the Thai communities that have just really been so great to me over my life of coming here. And so it just started, and it's a monthly video that I do every month, and then it's just continued to grow. So that's been amazing. And then, you know, recently it just also allows me to experience and meet people in Thailand that are doing it day in and day out. I did this one in Klong Toi here a couple of weeks ago, and these guys up here, you guys know, Friezo and Greg, they've been doing it every day for a year. I swoop in, I help out, I document it, I swoop out. I have you know, an easy job, and it gives me a sense as to doing that every day. Sorry about those beeps, fellas, but
that's right.
It gives me a sense that
don't jump.
That these guys doing this every single day. For
amazing work, right?
To me, that's the impressive thing, and it allows me to just doing it allows me to kind of experience it and get to know some really cool people here.
Chris, how would you define your channel? I mean, there seems to be an awful lot of varied content. Are you still sort of trying different things, having a bit of fun? How would you actually define your channel?
Yeah, I think it's in one sentence, it's fun and informative videos from Thailand. And in another way, it's just me making videos that I want to make. Again, I'm not doing it like it's breaking some YouTube rules. I know you know, in respect to give people what they expect and all that. But for me, it's all about wanting to just do what I want to do with it and have fun with it and share my love of Thailand through different formatted videos, I guess. And so that's what I'm doing.
What's your bucket list YouTubes, Chris? What are those bucket list YouTubes you really want to make that you haven't made yet?
Oh, geez. Well, I have one that I can't say here. I would like to break the news.
Tell us.
I'm going to have to save that one. Geez, that's a great question. I don't have, like, everything happens kind of next week. What do I want to make next week? And then the fun of it for me is that it's a journey into the unknown, really. So I don't really have a list of bucket list videos. I would like to make some videos outside Thailand. I want to go back to Korea. I also love that place a whole lot and share my love of Korea with people. But yeah, as for specific concepts, they're not there yet.
Okay.
You can make a video about how to turn off your notifications on your laptop.
I know, and I'm trying, fellas. And I'm all like,
you're so. They're saying, "Oh, you're on the Thaiger." That's all right. Don't worry. You use Facebook? You use all the other social media? You would have noticed in the past that you can get an auto translation, and the translations from Thai into English can be troublesome sometimes, and you certainly get some very odd translations. Have you noticed that in the past, Chris?
Yeah. Throughout my time in Asia, there's some great Asian language to English translation. But yeah, some of them are funny. So oftentimes they crack you up, and you kind of got to decipher it yourself. You need to be a bit of a code breaker to figure out what they're trying to translate it into.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's now been turned off on Facebook and Instagram because a couple of weeks ago, Her Majesty the Queen had her birthday, and Thai Wrath decided to run a story, which is the right thing to do, about a 21-gun salute that was held in her honour. Unfortunately, the auto-translate included a word that we can't really mention here, but it was certainly derogatory about Her Majesty, and it encouraged somebody at the palace, I don't know how they did it, but they twiddled a few knobs and have now turned off auto translation. So for anybody out there using Facebook and Instagram,
No translations for now, Tim.
there's no translations, which is either a good thing or a bad thing, because sometimes they, well, like this particular translation we're talking about, muddied the waters rather than actually sorting things out.
No news when it's going to come back either.
No.
Really? Just shut off
Just-
and we'll
They-
call you when we've changed our mind.
They flicked the switch, Chris.
So how have you gone? You've been here for a few years, visiting and now living here with your family. How do you go with the Thai language and the squiggles, the letters?
Well, I rely on my wife to decipher some of those squiggles. She put in the work to figure out how to read and write. I put in enough work to go order myself some food and give a taxi driver directions home. And then I spend a lot of time wishing I learned more and put more in, but then I find myself not putting the time in. So yeah, I can, just enough for me to get by. And get around day to day, and that's really it. Very limited.
Sounds like Bill and I. Bill, what's your excuse? I mean, I'm
Very busy.
no
I'm
better.
very busy. I'm very
Very busy.
extremely busy. After 20 years, shamefully poor at Thai. Shamefully
Yeah,
bad.
I can literally do much the same because I can order my food and that's about it. It is shameful. Do you think it is because, like, we live in places like Bangkok, or in our case at the moment in Phuket, and there's a lot of English spoken by the locals, which tends to make us lazy?
Yeah, I think it's that in combination with us being native English speakers. My whole life it's been a it's been a source of, I guess, somewhat embarrassment. You know, you'll go out for beers and you'll be with a group of Europeans and Asians or anywhere else except us native English speakers. The whole table's talking in English, which is their second, third, fourth language. And it's all because I'm sitting there, you know, maybe being able to utter hello and thank you in a few of their languages. And it's a strange feeling. You need if you're lazy about it, then you can, because everyone will just default to English. And I guess I'm not the most self-motivated guy when it comes to that.
Yes, we all hang our heads in shame. Chris, you can go and get a refill because we're going to have a very quick break. We're going to come back, and this is something I'm sure you'll be excited about. The Prime Minister last night did make some announcements about reopening the country. So let's check that out in just a moment. Chris Parker there, who's up in Bangkok, and you're where you are, watching us around the world. Bill Barnett and I here in the studio, and we'll be back with more Good Morning Thailand on the Thaiger right after this.
The Thaiger is getting behind businesses for the restart of tourism next month. With 60,000 daily YouTube viewers and around 8 million clicks on our website each month, half of them from overseas, let us help you get in contact with the next wave of inbound travelers. Thaiger is offering 50% discounts on packages right through this month. Details in the description under this video.
And you're back on Good Morning Thailand on the Thaiger. Our guest today, all the way from Bangkok, is Chris Parker from Retired, working for you, who of course is one of the most popular vloggers on YouTube. Did you ever think you'd be a vlogger, Chris?
You know, no, I didn't. But the reason that I'm doing it and I love it, I was making videos exactly like I'm making now back in the 90s. There was no, it wasn't vlogging back then. It was just me and a couple of buddies in a video camera being, you know, fools basically. And there was nowhere to put it, but we did them, and I have shoe boxes full of them. So I could see myself making silly little videos about things that I'm doing, but then once YouTube became a thing, no, I never really thought of becoming a vlogger or YouTuber.
I mean, did you ever think the thing that you make phone calls on would be a perfectly acceptable camera?
Oh God, no. That's the most shocking thing. You know, someone who comes from that industry, that is an absolutely shocking element to it all, and it really is what unlocks the key to it for a guy like me.
Sure, we know exactly what you mean. Now, Chris, overnight, the Prime Minister has made some announcements about Thailand moving forward. Bill, you'll be pretty happy to know, he said that Thailand must reopen in 120 days. Was it June, July, August? So he's talking about end of September, October.
Mid-October, yeah.
Mid-October. July, August. Yeah, I forgot a month.
Which, Tim, as we sit here, it's 14 days for the Phuket Sandbox, just as a...
So yes, they're going to start with Phuket, who you were here last week, Chris, as a sort of a pilot program. It seems to be quite cumbersome at the moment, although we hope over the following month it will start to make itself a bit easier. What were your impressions about Phuket when you came down last week, Chris?
I could say, pleasantly surprised. I hadn't been to Phuket. I almost could say I've never been there. I went for a couple of nights as I was backpacking through in 1995, and I did the classic stop. I'm in Phuket. I stop in Patong for 2 nights, and then I move on down the backpacker circuit. And so I didn't know what to expect. It's like coming to Bangkok and expecting the city full of nothing but khao san roads. And so I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, I mean, if you go and stay in Patong, I did go by there. I went to Phuket town, Patong, and then up the west coast. And yeah, if you went and stayed in Patong right now, you would wonder why you're there. This is no fun. But what I found was some amazing little local areas where, look, that's a big island. Like there's what, 500,000 people that live there. Like there's some nice little local areas with businesses that are open, with bamboo beach huts that are serving up some good food, and I actually loved it. I was impressed with that island. I'll be back. Samui's my home away from home, which is why I haven't gone back. But I was happy there, and I'm definitely going to come back.
Fantastic. Bill, another thing that I think is a change in tone from the Prime Minister, he said that we must be ready to live with some risk. I think a lot of us, Chris and Bill, have understood that that's the only way to move forward. We can't eradicate or control or contain COVID. It's a virus that's going to do its own thing. So that's a major change in tone, Bill.
For our lives to go forward, I think Prime Minister is under enormous pressure. Certainly opening Phuket is one thing, but Phuket is a small area of Thailand, and the rest of Thailand has to reopen. Thailand's a large country, almost 70 million people as well. So they've got to get the economy rolling again. This is the only way is to reopen the country as soon as possible.
He also said that inconvenient restrictions and quarantine must be fully lifted for vaccinated international travellers. So he's embracing the idea that we're going to have to remove the ideas of ASQs, quarantines, and get vaccinated travellers back into the country, which is going to bring, and I'd be interested in your views on this, Chris, this whole notion, which I think is what the next 12 months of the news cycle on this is going to be, is who people are going to let into their shops, into their cinemas, into their restaurants. Are they going to be checked to see if they're vaccinated? Are we going to have this two-tier world where people are vaccinated and those that aren't? What's your feelings on all that, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. It feels like that's the next phase, is a two-tier world. How deep that goes, you're bringing up some things I hadn't thought about, certainly thinking about it as it pertains to international travel. And that's starting to, you see that popping up in country after country now. And that seems like a given. But, within a country, movie theaters, restaurants, getting into a sports venue, that's a great question. I'm not sure it'll go that deep. And I don't know that it has to. I think it's like, look, if the vaccinations do what they're supposed to do and turn it into the flu that it's going to become, where it's not gone, but it's just not that deadly, that we just can't go back to, thinking about it the same way that we've thought about the flu, thanks to herd immunity and the vaccines and whatnot, then I don't see the point in making sure you're in a room full of vaccinated people. If I'm vaccinated, and that means I'm not going to get hospitalized or die from it, most likely, that's going to be good enough for me. I look at America as the leaders right now in what's going on. They're wide open. They come on into our country, no restrictions, full sports venues. And what's happening? The numbers are still dropping. That's a great news story for me. And that to me is a glimpse into how the future should be. My country, Canada, they're still super restrictive, which I was for in the early days of this. But at this point, the vaccination, if it's doing its thing, let's give it a try. If the unexpected happens, okay, let's deal with it. But it's not happening in America. So I'm all for this 120-day plan. I didn't know that, Tim. So that's great news to me. And I think, like you said, the only way it's going to work here is if it comes without strings attached. You know, if there's always strings attached, you can't say that it's open. Open means open.
Speaking about being open, we are open to comments, and I'm sure this is something that you get on your channel as well. Being primarily, I suppose, a news source, we get plenty of negative commentary. Bill, let's trawl through some of our trolls.
Actually, going back to Chris's point as well, one of our most commented items was about the wristband issue coming up, that travelers to the Sandbox would be required to wear a wristband tracking device. And from Bill Clark, tracking bracelet, no thanks. I'm better traveling in Mexico. Chris, you mentioned all these restrictions, everything else. Would you put on a wristband and come to Thailand with a tracking device?
That maybe for me that wouldn't be a deal breaker, nor would the vaccine passport. It's restricting my movement once I'm there, restricting my ability to have a beer on a beach, making me take a COVID test 5 days in and saying I got to go to a hospital in there, and that would kill my vacation. Tracking my movements, I wouldn't love it. I'd rather have it be an app on my phone. A wristband seems a little much. An app on my phone, okay, I can do that.
Very great. And a message is in from Bob M. Question, if possible, can you give us a straightforward interpretation of the crazy new insurance requirements? That was a discussion yesterday, Tim, about the requirements for not only for travelers coming in or tourists coming in under the Sandbox, but also about people living in Thailand as well. What new insurance would be required?
Well, at the moment, they're saying that to come into Thailand, you're going to have a COVID premium, which is going to cover you for 100,000 US, about 30 million Thai baht. And it's going to be a barrier for some people getting that insurance. But I think to go to any country without adequate insurance is crazy. But at the moment, the Thai government is saying you're going to have to carry special COVID insurance. Just in case you get COVID, you need to go to a hospital that you'll be covered. So I suppose at the moment, just as part of the precautions, it's something we're going to have to live with.
I think in all fairness, if you're getting a Schengen visa to Europe, you're required, there's an insurance provision as well. So Thailand's not the only one doing this. But I guess for Thai residents, people living here, the new requirement. Chris, you're living here in Thailand. In terms of having COVID-19 insurance going forward to get your visa renewals, do you think that's a fair statement? Do you think it's a fair proposal?
I'm with Tim. I mean, to me, this is one that I don't get why this is even an ongoing news item and an ongoing reason to shake fists in the air angrily. It's like, I want it because I want it. I don't care that someone's telling me to get it. Like, I'm about to try and jump on a plane in August. And the first thing I'm doing is researching and making sure I'm covered where I'm going. Like, I don't care if the government makes me or not. I'm going to have it because I don't want to go broke in a foreign hospital.
Good point. Now, Chris, you may not know this, but we've actually got two very tall, very heavy, well-set people who are actually in your apartment at the moment, and they're about to push you off your balcony unless you tell us, yep, they're there. Don't
right behind you. Don't turn around.
Don't bother looking around. They're going to push you off the balcony if you don't tell us about your next video, what you're making at the moment.
Oh, that's an interesting one because I don't even know. I have a video. I'm going to put one out this weekend, and I don't know what it's going to be just yet. There's a couple of options. I have a bunch of videos I shot in Phuket, and it might be one of those. I want to put those out over the next couple of months. I did another pay it forward down there with some amazing people. So that might be the next video, but it's probably not going to be. I was thinking about that this morning. And so that's a great question, Tim. I better get to work.
Yeah, okay. I'm not sure if that's a good enough answer. We'll we decide whether we're going to push the red button on those two goons. Now, for you, Bill, you got one more comment?
Maybe just a question in from Jay from the sports desk here. Jay's he's a soccer fan, and you know the European Football Championship, the Euros. Italy last night over Switzerland. Italy came through. Chris, American football, Canadian football, or European football? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I would say European. I would say ice hockey. I mean, what are you? I don't even know what you're talking about, but
there you go.
The Euros.
Because you have two goons here, I'll say European football. But yeah, no, I like European football when it comes to international tournaments, like the Euro and the World Cup. I don't follow league play. I live and die, unfortunately, with a terrible ice hockey team from my hometown. So.
All right. Chris Parker there from Retired Working For You. Chris, we love your work and we really appreciate you coming to spend half an hour with us on the Thaiger this morning. And we do look forward to your next video, whatever it might be. Please, if you get an opportunity, give a quick coffee to Alexei and Svetlana there, who are just waiting inside, keeping you on track. Bill Barnett, thank you for coming in.
Okay, thank you.
And Chris, thanks for dropping in, and we look forward to catching up with you some other time.
Yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for keeping me and everyone else updated. You guys do a great job of it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Chris Parker there. Retired Working For You, a link to his channel under this video. Thank you very much to Jason and Jay, and to Alexei and Svetlana up there in Bangkok, just about to manhandle Chris. We'll see you again on another Good Morning Thailand. We'll probably do that tomorrow. Thanks for watching.